Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right into a totally fascinating psychological trap that catches human beings every single day. We constantly mistake pure confidence for actual competence. Confident people often influence decisions, sway opinions, and lead groups far more than they actually should, based purely on how they present themselves. This explainer will unpack exactly why the human brain falls for confidence so easily, and more importantly, how to avoid one of the biggest psychological traps in everyday life.
Have you ever trusted someone almost instantly, only to realize way later that they were completely wrong? Think about a specific time this happened. Maybe a situation where someone spoke with absolute authority, everyone nodded along, and the end result was just a total disaster. It is a super relatable scenario, right? And when looking back on those moments, a rather surprising truth begins to emerge about why that misplaced trust was given in the first place.
The reality of these situations, well, it can be a little tough to swallow. What's wild about those moments of instant trust is that they were not based on merit at all. It wasn't because the person was exceptionally honest, or kind, or even highly qualified. It was simply because they looked confident. Psychology shows us that the brain naturally substitutes confidence for competence. The way a person looks and sounds completely overrides the actual substance of what they are saying.
Section 1. The Confidence Illusion.
Let's break down how the brain actually processes this. Picture meeting two different people. The first is the careful speaker. This person speaks carefully, weighs their words, and openly admits when they are unsure. Now, on the flip side, we have the certain speaker. This person speaks with absolute certainty, zero hesitation, zero doubt. They project total confidence. The crazy thing is, even if both of these individuals possess the exact same level of knowledge, human beings will instinctively follow the second person. We just naturally gravitate toward absolute certainty.
And this perfectly illustrates what psychologists call the confidence heuristic. It is basically a mental shortcut where the brain judges someone as more capable simply because they appear more confident. Since the human brain absolutely loves certainty, confidence feels exactly like hard evidence, even when it is completely fabricated. This reflex is remarkably fast, highly automatic, and as a result, it is often completely, utterly wrong. Section 2. The brain's mental shortcut.
So why rely on such a flawed system? Well, it all comes down to the massive scale of daily life. The brain processes thousands of decisions every single day. To handle this overwhelming load and save precious energy, it simply cannot afford to analyze every tiny detail of every interaction. Instead, it leans heavily on mental shortcuts. Confidence operates as one of those primary energy-saving shortcuts. Rather than verifying facts in real time, the brain just looks for cues that suggest safety and certainty. There are very specific behavioral triggers that activate this shortcut. When someone speaks without hesitation, maintains intense eye contact, and appears totally sure of the outcome, the brain gets tricked. It automatically assumes, hey, they must know what they're talking about. These are just physical and verbal cues, sure, but they are instantly translated into a judgment about a person's intellectual capability and overall accuracy.
But here is the massive paradox. Confidence and accuracy are not the same thing. Not even close. Real knowledge often speaks carefully because true experts understand how incredibly complex things really are. They know all about the exceptions, the variables, the unknowns. On the other hand, false certainty happens when individuals who actually know very little sound absolutely certain, precisely because they do not understand the complexity of the topic. Their sheer lack of knowledge breeds the exact type of absolute certainty that the brain finds so irresistible.
Section 3. Confidence in everyday life.
Now, this psychological trap isn't just some abstract theory sitting in a lab. It infiltrates our daily environments. This trap pops up everywhere, constantly rewarding the wrong people. At work, the loudest person often gets noticed first and promoted faster, completely regardless of their actual output. On social media, people who sound the most certain are the ones gaining millions of followers, creating massive echo chambers of confident misinformation. And in relationships, baseless confidence is frequently mistaken for genuine emotional maturity. In all these arenas, the mental shortcut dictates the outcome.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. The brain reacts to certainty, not to facts. In everyday conversations, concrete facts are routinely ignored simply because a speaker sounds highly convincing. The brain isn't pausing to double-check whether the information is actually correct. It is way too busy reacting to how certain the speaker appears. This is exactly why first impressions can be so incredibly misleading.
Section 4. Protecting your decisions.
Recognizing the problem is only half the battle, right? So how do we actually avoid this trap? It takes two clear steps. Step 1, the next time someone sounds incredibly confident, intentionally pause. You have to break that automatic reflex. Step 2, ask one simple, absolutely critical question. Do they actually have evidence, or do they simply sound convincing? Forcing the brain out of its energy-saving shortcut and into a state of active critical thinking is hands down the best defense.
Once that pause happens, it is time to evaluate the speaker. True expertise usually welcomes questions. Real experts prioritize accuracy, so they do not mind having their ideas tested one bit. False confidence, however, often avoids questions or gets super defensive. People relying on the confidence heuristic prioritize being impressive over being accurate. Remember, the most trustworthy people aren't always the loudest ones in the room.
Ultimately, making smart decisions about who to trust means removing spoken confidence from the equation entirely. We need to judge people by 3 core pillars: their actions, their objective evidence, and their historical consistency. Look at what they actually do, look at the hard data they provide, and see whether their track record remains solid over time. Do not judge them just by how confidently they speak.
This brings us to a really powerful paradigm shift to end this explainer on. Confidence can be inspiring, but confidence alone is never proof. Understanding this psychological shortcut fundamentally changes how every single confident interaction should be viewed. Next time an incredibly certain speaker takes the stage or dominates a meeting, remember this. Look past the delivery, seek the evidence, and protect those everyday decisions. After all, who have you placed your complete trust in today simply because they spoke the loudest?